Hello, another Sunday fun day. I don't know what the title of this video is about, but I want to talk about therapy as someone who comes from people who don't do it. Not that it was like never do therapy. It just really never came up, and I didn't know people who did therapy, and it's kind of like, hey, if you got a problem, buck up. You can solve it. All the answers are in your mind. And so I'm traditionally very good at kind of just like bearing stuff and moving on. And that got me through, things. I would say have been somewhat successful in life, but it definitely hit a breaking point. And that's when I got pregnant. So that was 2023, I believe, August of 2023. And do I have my date? I think that's the correct date. Being pregnant and being super, super sick, throwing up multiple times a day, finally gave me a legit excuse to tell my manager, like, I'm done right now. I'm not doing any brain work. I'm done with YouTube right now, and I'll let you know when I'm ready to start back up. So I finished some work that I had to get done, but before that, and I believe I've talked about this on a video, right before I got pregnant, that summer, I had my first ever, I guess what you would call panic attack. I basically went to the ER thinking I was having a heart attack. And after a lot of different tests and things, the doctor just said, yeah, maybe stress out less. And I was like, all right. And after that, in the back of my head, I'm like, well, there's some things that I need to figure out. And so being pregnant and kind of like taking a pause on work and life allowed me some space to be like, you know what, maybe I should try this therapy that everyone talks about. Took a couple days scouring the web. I used the different databases where all the therapists are listed. I forgot what they're called, but I'll put them in the description below if you're curious about finding a therapist. My insurance didn't cover, I think they covered some mental health services, but it's one of those things where my insurance wasn't great, so they weren't going to cover anything. So I just wanted to find the best of the best, and I was just going to pay out of pocket. And so I found someone that said they specialized in like anxiety, ADHD. I believe one of the words was like life transition, because I was pregnant and life was about to change a lot. And so I thought, hey, this is okay. This works. This person looks good. And, I had the phone call and I did gel with her, and then I started therapy, and it was really good. I would say those first few months of therapy were like therapy light, where it was really only about my work. Everything else in life was fine. It was great. But I just had this really bad relationship with my work and with YouTube, and it's not something that I could talk to a lot of people about other than my husband, John, because, he does YouTube as well. Also, the kind of therapist that I had was a CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And so, there was different tools that she gave me, and some stuff stuck and some didn't, but it really just helped me have a person in my corner that was encouraging, that was opening to listen, but also just like threw out some solutions. Sometimes I'd be like, no, that's silly. Other times I'd be like, okay, yeah, let me try that. I appreciate therapists that actually say things back to you. They're not always just like, how does that make you feel, right? So she had a good, she had one foot in psychology and, was very smart, but another foot in the practical real world, and I appreciated that. What I didn't know was work was the least of my problems. When I gave 3 months early and baby was in a NICU, and I remember from the hospital, I emailed my therapist and I was like, hey, this has been good so far, but this is what happened and I'm just done. I'm done. I don't feel like talking to anyone. And I really caved in on myself. And that's what I do in these situations, because that's what I've taught. That's all that I know. I really like cut people off and I go inward, and I'm just like, all right, I'll figure this out. I will tough it out. Looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, Sarah, that's you doing that thing again. But in the moment, it was just obvious. I'm like, well, I tried this therapy thing and now this crazy life altering thing is happening. I feel like my life is kind of over and I just need to like be heads down and tough it out. And man, I really appreciate her. She was like, hey, that's completely fine if that's the way you feel. But, and she never, she was a good therapist to where she rarely talked about herself. She kept a lot of, she kept the spotlight on me, which is helpful. I hear a lot of people have terrible therapists where they just talk about their problems in your session. You're like, I'm paying you so much money right now. What are you doing? She never did that, but she had a great balance of always knowing when to share bits of her life. And so she was like, hey, I totally understand, but I've had 2 kids in the NICU. So if you want to talk about this, it does help to have a support system, to talk to someone who you know can understand. And in that moment, I was kind of like, oh, okay, all right, open back up a little bit again. And, I took a break for a little bit while baby was in the NICU. Wow, was there just so much baggage to get through, not just through the traumatic birth and like mourning that experience, but just everything that encompasses having a baby 3 months early. And the moment I started therapy and the moment I started talking about my experience with a birth too, I always went in with it just very skeptical, just because that's the lens that I've always seen through therapy. I've always just been so skeptical, just the way I grew up, But the more I talked with her, like the more it felt like I was just like getting through. It was like hard. There were tears. Some days were better than others, but fast forward a few months and I feel like I could hey, I can actually get up in the morning and have some happiness, and I could breathe, and I could appreciate birds chirping in the morning. I was getting out of this funk. And so it doesn't seem like things are working in the moment, but then there's just this moment of okay, maybe I am doing better. Maybe this, is good. And along the way, I'm always doing these checkpoints, right? For some reason, I always felt guilty that I was in therapy. Again, I'm only saying this because I feel like there's people out there that probably grew up the same way I did and have the same feelings about therapy. And occasionally you get that Instagram reel on your feed that is a person talking from a stage and is therapy isn't meant to be this and this and that. It's not something you do for a long time. You get your problem done, you move on. And there's some truth to that, but when you see that stuff and you already have a weird relationship with therapy, you start doubting oh, okay, is it time to call it quits? Am I a loser for being in therapy for 9 months? Shouldn't it be done by now? And at every one of those checkpoints, I just felt man, I just feel like I'm not done yet. There's still just so much more to unpack, not just about what's going on now, but childhood and all of those things. And a lot of this comes back to finding the right therapist. Maybe you have to try a few. Mine, again, had a great balance of, not making it feel oh, I'm always the victim, and just being boo-hoo, your life sucks, there's nothing you can do about it, versus hey, being empathetic, but also how do we move forward? How do we move through this? So I think finding the right person is a big part of this. And then my mom got diagnosed with brain cancer, and I was just oh my God. And, moved my entire family cross country. And there was just so much with that, so much to unpack. And I didn't realize until later that I already started mourning my mom the moment she got diagnosed, the moment that she had the craniotomy. Something that you don't understand until you go through something like that with someone, a loved one gets diagnosed with a terminal illness is, man, the mourning process starts the moment you hear that news. And I didn't quite understand that until, after my mom passed. In between the day she passed and her funeral, I actually felt, I don't know, it's weird to say this, but I'm going to say it in case other people can relate, but I actually felt relief. I felt peace. I felt like she was right there with me. And it's I got almost just some temporary relief from the past year. I know that sounds weird, but just telling you what I feel. Of course, it has been a windy road of grief ever since then. That feeling of peace just disappeared the day after her funeral. It felt like she just wasn't with me anymore, which, I guess I'm still trying to work through, but again, I didn't realize how, thankful I was to have therapy, that, the whole past year of going through that, like, oof, when you're going through heavy stuff like that, having kind of a designated person in your corner who, yes, is getting paid to be in your corner, but nonetheless, it's still very nice to have. And now it's actually been 2 or 3 months since I stopped therapy. That's why I actually wanted to make this video, because I was like, the idea of stopping therapy, like, how do you know when the end is? And for me, it was like, a month after my mom passed, and it felt like there was nothing else to say. The absolute hardest times were the month leading up to my mom passing, and probably the month after her surgery and the diagnosis. What was really tough is it was just terrible timing. My therapist went out of town for a few weeks right after we got the news that my mom's cancer was back. And so she went from like completely fine to passing away within a month. It was insane. And during that time is when I felt like I so desperately needed my therapist the most. And she was out of town, and there was some spiraling, and it was not good, and she's very nice. She's like, hey, going on a vacation with my family. I'm not unreachable. If you need me, reach out. But something about me, that's very difficult for me. So I didn't reach out because I felt bad. But in reality, I felt, man, like I needed her. I should have reached out. I still got to work on that. I still got to work on, it's like, whether it's that example or something more lighthearted, like an employee or freelancer, even if I'm paying these people, paying a therapist or paying a freelancer, I'll like hold my tongue because I don't want to ruffle feathers. I don't know what it is about working with people, but sometimes I'll be like, oh, I don't want to inconvenience you with the instructions on like how to do your job well. Like, no, they would benefit from you speaking up, Sarah. That's something I have been working on. I've gotten better, and I still need to work on. But yeah, so I think I got through some of like the darkest moments without her. And then the moment when my mom passed, it just felt like there was no more tension in the past. Every time that I hit those checkpoints, I never knew. And that was a sign that, no, stay in there, work through your things. There's no shame in it. And so it's hard to explain, but it just felt like it was time. It felt like it was time to like take all the tools that I've learned and just start attacking life again. And I think it also has something to do with like when you lose a parent, the moment a parent dies or maybe both pass away, you just become a different person. I cannot explain it. But the Sarah with Jeannie and without, I would say I'm much more bitter. I'll see an old person with gray hair out and about, and I like mentally inside my brain, I get angry because I think Jeannie deserves that. Why do you get to have gray hair and walk around? But then on the flip side, I am more grateful for dumb small stuff than I ever was. Yeah, I just feel lucky to be alive. I feel lucky that my daughter's alive. I feel lucky that my husband's alive, that the family that we have, my dad, my brother, my extended family, our cats. We have so many cats now. My dad got a new little kitty cat, and he's super cute, but now they got 3 cats at the house, which is kind of crazy. And that's kind of like the contradiction that I'm living in every single day. I feel more biased towards action. I don't know if I'm applying some of my ADHD and anxiety stuff, but I wake up and there is no diddly-daddling. It's time to get shit done. You know what I'm saying? A part of that is like when you have a kid, you have to get so much more done. You have to be so much more productive. I don't even know what I was freaking doing pre-child. Like, was I just fiddling my thumbs all day? I mean, it's crazy. And so I'm sure it's a combination of all those things. But yeah, that's how I knew it was time to stop therapy. It was just, how people say how you choose opportunities, jobs, partners in life, whatever. It's either like a hell yes or a hell no. If you're on the fence at all, it's automatically a no. That's how it was with therapy. If I was like, I could stop or I could not, I was like, no, you still got stuff to work through. And I had to give myself permission to do that. I'm 2 months or 3 months out of therapy, and I'm still here. I'm still alive. And I feel like I have a much better relationship with work. I'm just slowly getting back into it. But I think also it's because I gave myself time and space to like experiment. I felt like I had so many things that I just wanted to get out into the world, and I'm actually getting through that list of things. So I'm finally I finally had to just stop so much. Inertia is crazy. Once you start saying yes to all these things, it's one thing to just stop it, but to turn around and go the opposite direction is a whole nother thing. So it takes so much energy to do that and so much intentionality. And so it took so much energy and effort to do that. And every step of the way, it never felt like I was doing it. It felt like I wasn't making progress. But now I'm able to kind of look up and be like, hey, I got a personal project done. I would have never been able to get studio set up done in the past 8 years of making YouTube videos because I was so busy saying yes to other people and not myself. And so, I'm trying not to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I'm trying to do responsible financial things because hey, got a family now. I now have room for passion projects and things that I want to do. And I think that's really helped not just my relationship with work, but the way my brain works. If I'm able to scratch my own itch and I'm able to start implementing some of these things that I know help me, then I can kind of push down a lot of that anxiety, or not push it down. It doesn't exist to the same degree that it used to. And so I'm not perfect. I'm still working on that stuff every day, but I guess it's cool to make this video as a checkpoint for me. And even the people who've listened to me over the past 5-10 years, I feel like I come to you guys a lot when something crazy has happened. I've gotten way better at sharing scars, not open wounds. But I figured, hey, maybe it's good to share when things progress and are doing better as well. Not perfect yet, though. Still working on that. Hey, content is everywhere and everything. If you are building a personal brand or building content for your business, or if you want to be some sort of content creator, or you want to elevate your video conferencing setups when you're doing your Zooms, hey, check out studiosetup.com. It is the foolproof way on building a beautiful studio setup and getting started with your videos and with your content in just a few days, not months and months. It's time to make the content, and Studio Setup is going to help you. All right, this is a little bit of a weird video, but that's what the second channel is for. There were no bullet points for this video, so hopefully it made sense. All right. Until next time. Oh, also, I'm starting to post a lot of a YouTube short a day on this YouTube channel. So if that is annoying, you can modify, I think if you hit the bell and the subscribe button thing, I think you can modify what you get notified for, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure, guys. I'm just trying to, as they say, get on my short form game. I'm a long form girl in a short form world. So I'm trying. So I'm starting with the clipping of things, clipping existing content. I'm posting it on my TikTok and this YouTube channel. And then if one actually does well and seems like is resonating with people, then I will post that short form to my main channels, like my Instagram and YouTube. So that is a little bit of inside baseball. I'm just letting you know. Okay, it's Peachy. Okay, bye.